Welcome back to Genre. I'm your host, Elise.
And I'm Katie.
And today we are talking about Half His Age by Jeanette McCurdy. But first, we have some things to say. Katie, you want to kick us off?
All right, I've got one thing to say and one thing only.
Oh, wow. Okay.
This is our 20th episode!
Oh my God! You mentioned that earlier and I forgot about it completely.
Woo-hoo-hoo!
Congratulations. Confetti, confetti.
Yeah, congratulations to
Woots,
you.
woots.
Congratulations to me. Congratulations to us.
Yes. Wow. So 20 books.
20 books we have read in the last 8 or so months.
Yeah, I think so. Because June's our 1 year.
Her 1-year anniversary.
I know. And then if we've done 20 books, we've probably done like 10 off books.
Yeah. So I think like 30 episodes altogether.
We're podcasting royalty.
Professionals. Some would say.
Just let me know, any podcast network, if you're interested on scooping these 20 eps up. Getting in on the ground floor.
That's right. Books are important. People should read.
Well, I honestly, I tell you every time we finish editing an episode and we put it online, I'm always just like, can you believe it? We've done it again.
We've done it again. Because
every time we do it a little differently, even this time. Who knows? Who knows how much Adobe I will need to do to edit this afterwards? But that's part of the fun.
That's part of the charm that you never knew you were getting into when you started a podcast.
Nope, you just said it's for yapping.
Yep.
And then really, actually, it's for audiovisual.
This is an AV club.
It's an AV club. If only we were in the high school, we'd be a little bit ahead, but alas.
Yep. And that's it. That's all I had to say.
Well, that's great. Well, I have one thing to say as well.
Oh, okay.
And this is very niche. It's very specific. And that's, nobody really tells you that when you grow out your bangs as a girl who's had bangs her entire life in some capacity, that it changes your entire life. You don't know how to get ready anymore. You're trying new things that you see on the internet.
Yeah.
And as this is where it gets even nicher, as a woman who has had bangs her entire life but has recently started filming herself at least once a week to put on the internet, now I can really see the many stages of me growing out my bangs.
Yeah.
And all I want to do is go back to, like, I don't know, stage 3.5, like a very specific moment.
What episode was that, you think?
Oh, I'd have to go back. It was one of the ones that we actually reposted for one of our throwbacks. And now I'm forgetting what it was. I think it was...
Maybe Bourbon and Lies.
Maybe Bourbon and Lies. And I'm just like, those were perfect bangs. But then they grow out so quickly. And because I've never been good at cutting my own bangs, that's the only way to keep them the way that you want them all the time. And I haven't figured out exactly how to do it. So I'm going to stick with currently growing out the bangs until I can't take it anymore.
Yeah.
And I think maybe if I get good at rollers, as I tried today for this, and I will say that
not bad.
Not bad, but like
at all.
But when I first took them out, I was like, who is she? She's a girl with no bangs. She's just a girl with volume. No bangs. And I don't know if I don't recognize myself. I'm a grown-ass woman, don't know what I look like.
I see. That's like when I put that slick back bun in before and I was like, I look like an alien or a baby fresh out the womb.
Yeah. And I was like, it looks okay. It looks like a slick back. No.
Unpopular opinion, I do not think slick back buns look good.
You have to have a very particular bone structure, in my opinion.
Maybe. But even I feel like I see a bunch of women and I'm like, I don't think it looks better than if they had their hair down or half up, half down or a blowout.
Yeah, well, I think a blowout's always... That's what everybody wants to achieve at all times, but you just simply can't have a blowout every day.
No, like I'd rather have this little ponytail than a slick back.
It could be because I'm a bang girl. I always want something framing my face.
I feel like I saw Khloe Kardashian on a podcast and she was interviewing, I think it was Morgan Stewart, and they were talking about bangs. And they were like, no, nobody looks good with bangs. The only person that looks good with bangs is Zooey Deschanel.
Yeah.
And
I would say...
Dakota Johnson.
And Dakota Johnson, yeah. And I'd say Taylor Swift looks good with bangs.
No.
You don't think Taylor Swift looks good with bangs?
No,
her classic bangs that she's had?
No, I don't like her bangs. I wish she tried something new, with the makeup. With the...
I know that you're just like, I desperately want her to stop having a winged eyeliner.
I want her to stop with the wing. I want her to stop with the red lips. I want to see something different.
I'm not sure if that's ever going to happen.
Alrighty, Lise, let's jump into this interesting book.
I know. I can't wait to really get your unfiltered opinion, Katie.
Yeah.
But first, let's do our non-spoiler section, just as a reminder, the first 20-25 minutes, we'll be talking about the book just on a high level. So no spoilers here. You can listen just to see if you think it's for you. And then we will go into a spoiler-filled conversation. We'll make sure that is very clear, and we'll sound the spoiler alarm before
Yep.
that happens.
Yep.
All right, let me give you just the short synopsis of Half His Age by Jeanette McCurdy.
Please do.
A lonely, sharp-tongued teenager in a small Alaskan town becomes obsessed with her married creative writing teacher and convinces herself that pursuing him will finally make her feel seen and powerful. As their boundary-crossing relationship unfolds, her darkly candid narration forces readers to question who is really in control and how much of the story she's telling herself is true. Bum,
Bum.
bum. I feel like I'm looking at you and you're just like, that's not the book I read.
I know. I was like, that's a little different than how I would have described it. But
I mean, I basically just looked at the back of the book and shortened it a little bit. So
I also just forgot that it took place in Alaska.
yeah,
Not important.
no,
to the
it's
story
not
at all.
important to the story at all. But
No.
I mean, maybe to some of the themes of isolation, but like, it's not really that important.
No, it's not that important.
So the author is Jeanette McCurdy, and
Yep.
this is her first novel.
Yes.
So after I read this book, I did go back and I read her memoir. I'm glad my mother is dead, or I'm glad my mother died. I'm always forgetting the full title of that. I'm
Yep.
glad. And mostly because I wanted to see if, like, how much, if anything, this book was sort of based on her life.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, she wrote a memoir. I can certainly just read the memoir and see.
And was it?
No, not really.
Okay. Is she from Alaska?
She's not
No.
from Alaska. She's from California. Definitely some crossover, but like, not really.
Okay.
Like, the specifics are absolutely not there. Like, one of her first relationships was with an older man, but not like
This
that much
situation.
older. Like, I do think that sort of themes of abuse, particularly with the mother that we're having throughout this
Yeah.
book, is similar but not exact. None of it's one for one.
Okay.
But what did maintain was the writing style.
Oh, yeah.
So it is still super direct, short chapters.
Yep.
So that is not just for this novel, but that is, I think, the hallmark of Jeanette McCurdy's writing style.
And I actually didn't read this book at all. I listened to the whole thing
Okay.
on
did both.
audio, and she is the audio narrator, which I think was kind of fun, but not really knowing her other book or honestly remembering her in any of the Disney.
We were a little bit too
Yeah.
old for iCarly and all that jazz.
Yeah. So
And-
I don't know
Yeah.
her like as an actress. I'm not familiar.
No, neither am I. And like reading her memoir after this, she was really a Nickelodeon kid.
Yeah.
And then she had one other show afterwards, like a sort of a
Yeah.
dystopian end of the world show that
Oh.
ran for a couple of seasons. And then that went away. And then she stepped away from
Oh,
acting pretty much at
interesting.
that point.
Okay.
So she doesn't have a ton of outside of the Nickelodeon stuff that you would know her from.
Okay.
And she pivoted into writing after she stopped.
I think I saw that too.
Yeah. And because she was on Nickelodeon so young, by the
Yeah.
time that she quit acting, she was
Probably
maybe
like,
21,
yeah.
22.
That's
So she was able to make that pivot without really losing much.
That's crazy.
Yeah. All right. So genres and tropes. I mean, this is a literary fiction for
Yep.
sure. It's
A coming of age story.
coming of
some would
age story.
say.
Yeah. Obviously, there's an age gap, relationship, and romance in here. It's a first person narrator. And we're getting Waldo's, the girl's point of view the entire time. And with that, we're getting this sort of unreliable narrator situation, not like, say, in My Husband's Wife, where people just aren't telling us things. It's just that Waldo is 17. She thinks she knows everything.
Yeah, and we're
And-
just getting her opinions.
And
on
we're just
everything.
getting her point of view. So it's hard to sometimes see if what she thinks is happening is actually
Yeah.
happening. And that is, I think, kind of the point. Like,
Yeah.
overall, this entire book is very uncomfortable,
Oh,
which we'll get into in a little bit more detail. But I think it's supposed to be.
I
It is
get
supposed
that.
to be that way. Yeah, not to say that's good or bad, but that is,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's definitely uncomfortable.
Yeah. And then, like we were saying before, and I realized it afterwards when I read her memoir, but this book has incredibly short chapters. So
There's like almost this sing-songy, and
Yeah.
because I was listening to it on the audiobook, like at the end of every chapter, it's like do, and I shut the door.
yeah.
And it's like this like little sing-songy, like last
Mhm.
sentence is like very short, doot, And it's always, like, in the same kind of tone or syllables.
Yeah, and it's, like, sometimes because I both read and listened to this book, and
Yeah.
sometimes a chapter will be a page and a half,
Oh, I guess I didn't even really think of
or
it.
2 pages. So, like,
Yeah.
they're very, very short chapters, which I thought was really interesting, particularly since we were getting a 17-year-old's point of view in today's day and age. In my mind, I was like, "Oh, this is her attention span."
Oh, yeah, that's
Like,
a
it's
good way to
quick,
think.
and
Yeah.
that's all that she has time to even really think about in this
Yeah.
world of social media, overconsumption, all of that types of thing. She's
Yeah.
just boom, 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 and I thought it was very interesting to read it that way, different than anything else I've read
Yes, I
recently.
would say it is definitely different, like, the tone and
Yeah.
the flow of the book is definitely different than anything else I've read.
Okay, jumping into the characters, we can go first with Waldo.
I hate that
I
name.
know, I know. I really wanted it to be like a nickname,
Yeah,
but never once did they mention anything. I think her name is just Waldo.
I know, I'm like, "Damn, your mom hates you." I hated it.
Yeah, and so she is our narrator. She's 17 at the start. I think she sort of ends it at
She's
like
18.
18 by the
Yeah.
end. So it sort of takes place over a year, year and a half ish
Yep.
of her life. And she's definitely lonely, definitely is like very judgmental and very vulgar at times, is the way that
Yeah.
this is narrated. And as
But
we said, she's unreliable, but just because she's a baby, she's a child.
yeah, like, she doesn't know what's going I
Yeah.
mean, but she's also very observant.
Hmm.
Like, she is consuming everything that's around her, whether it's media,
Hmm.
products, people, attention, like, she is she consumes everything.
Yeah. And processes it and then has an opinion about it immediately. And sometimes there were a couple of laugh out loud
Yeah.
times in this book where she's just giving her opinion on something and it is hilarious. Like she is taking it in. It's you can never really trust it too much
No.
because she is just
Just
a
a
child. What I did like, and again, it's part of this like differentness of everything. She is not a perfect person in any way, shape, or
Oh,
form.
no.
And they're not
No.
trying to make her so. It's not like she's this child that gets taken advantage of.
No, and I think that's important, like, we're saying that she's a child, but she is 17, and
Mm.
in her family life, so it's just her mom is a single mom, like, she's the adult in that
Yeah,
relationship, like,
correct.
her mom is constantly, with a boyfriend, so Waldo is cleaning the house, cooking food for herself,
Yeah.
like, I feel like she's constantly shocked when she comes home and her mom is there, she's like, "Whoa,
Yes.
what are you
Whoa.
doing here?"
Yeah, that was that one time. She's
Yeah.
like, "Oh, whoa, you're here and you're doing the dishes?
Yeah.
What?" So,
Yeah.
yes, she's not a perfect victim in any way, shape, or form. And I think that is a lot of what's so uncomfortable about this book. She initiated the relationship with Mr. Corgi, her teacher. So the question always is, and since we're getting only her point of view, what is happening here? Is
Yeah.
this abuse? Is this grooming? Or is she in charge? Who's in charge? Is he in charge? What's
Yeah.
going on? And that like friction on top of what is at times just I mean, I would just say gross. Gross,
It's gross.
gross descriptions of what's going on.
It's very crude
Very
and at
graphic.
times the shock value
Yeah.
of what Waldo is describing that's happening was hard to kinda understand. Like, is this for shock value? Is this just what a 17-year-old thinks?
Mhm.
Is this I don't know. It's gross. It's really gross.
It can be
There's things that, like, we can't even say on this podcast.
I don't know if we can say, but maybe we yeah, this
We
might be
won't.
good too. All right. And then there's Mr. Corky,
Yep.
who's the teacher, who I'd like to say is the most mediocre man to ever
Oh, yeah.
mediocre. And
I wanna say he's, like, in his
he's in his
mid-30s.
mid-30s,
Mid to late.
40s, something
Yeah.
like there, and he's, already balding. He's married. He's the creative writing teacher, but, not
Yeah.
even a cool one. He's not being like a life-changing teacher. It seems like he barely really likes teaching,
Yep.
wishes that he was a writer, which is what he always wanted to be, but he
Yep.
could never make it happen. So those who can't teach sort of situation. He takes a little bit of an interest in Waldo, but not really,
I think it's
just
more that she's writing truth. It's like she's writing in kind of the same way she's narrating. So it's very honest, it's direct, it's crude. And when she's sharing her work in the class, I feel like he's like, "Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You're really thinking. You're a deep thinker.
Yeah.
He's gassing her up, kinda.
Yeah. I think that comes back to some of the bigger questions of this book. But he's obviously just a man in a midlife crisis who gets approached by a 17-year-old girl.
Yeah.
And then finally, I have Waldo's mom,
Yeah.
who I don't think we ever get her name. She's just Waldo's mom.
Oh, yeah. Good point. Who honestly, she
Yeah.
doesn't need a name.
And she's, super distant, neglectful,
Yeah.
self-absorbed, and she's never like constantly promising Waldo that they're going to, take a vacation or to go see this person or that person and never follows through.
Yeah.
She's constantly with a boyfriend of some sort or another and has also just filled Waldo with the belief that like the only thing she needs is a man.
Yep.
Like you have to get a man, you have to keep a man. And to do that, you have to be beautiful. You have to like dress up. You have to do what they want you to do all the time. Become the person the man wants you to be, which we see Waldo doing throughout the book as well.
And I think Waldo describes her life in stages of her mom is happy, she's in a relationship, her mom is miserable because this guy left her, and it's just this back and forth kind of like manic upbringing.
Yeah.
I feel like.
And they never say anything about any particular like mental health with Waldo's mom or anything like that. It's just love addiction, which does come into play like later in the book. Like she just is uninterested in anything except for a man to give her validation.
Yep.
Yeah. And because of that, she also gives Waldo no validation, which then leaves Waldo seeking like validation or to be seen outside of it.
Oh, Waldo.
Yeah. And those were really the three characters. There was Waldo has a friend who pops in and out, but honestly,
it's Franny. She's her little Mormon friend.
Yeah.
But not important.
Yeah. And that's one of the things that just cross over. Jeanette McCurdy was Mormon until she got famous, basically. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know
And
that.
she loved, like when she was younger, she loved the church because it was just a break from her crazy household. And then once they got famous, they didn't go to church anymore.
Yeah.
So that is a bit of a touch base that I learned. All right. I said that this was giving Lolita, but if Lolita told the story by Nabokov. I didn't read this anywhere, but I would not be surprised if that was sort of the writing exercise on this. Like Lolita, make it current, and let's just only hear from Lolita the entire time. It's part of what makes it so uncomfortable. You read Lolita, and there's never a question in your mind whether or not she's being groomed, she's being abused, right, by this much older man.
Well, I will say Lolita the movie, I think, gives a different take on that, which actually I would think not the book, but Lolita the movie, I could see relating to this book a lot more. And I said that this really reminded me of Slums of Beverly Hills, which I don't know if you ever saw. It's a movie with Natasha Lyonne.
Okay. And
it was like when I was hearing Jeanette McCurdy on the audiobook, for whatever reason, I just kept thinking of Natasha Lyonne.
Huh. They have kind of similar. I mean, Natasha Lyonne has like a very particular voice.
Yeah.
And Jeanette McCurdy
kind of does too.
Yeah, she has a particular voice. They're similar. I can see where you would say that.
And that is also like a coming of age movie. It's weird. It's odd. I just remember, I think it came out in 1998. And that's what this reminded me of, like almost immediately.
Okay.
Do you think our mother would read this book?
No. Our mother would be horrified by some of these things.
Horrified.
Yeah.
No. Double no.
No. And I mean, I think I already know the answer to this, Katie, but high level, what did you think of this book?
I didn't like it. It was one of those things that was just uncomfortable to read. And I don't really know if I got a payoff.
Okay. I think that I definitely, not my favorite book. You know what I mean? Won't even be, I'm sure, like on my top 10 of the year.
No.
But I will say that I've been thinking about it. It's a real thinker.
It is. I will say that too.
I definitely have continued to think about it. So then I think as we talk it out, as happens a lot, I'll probably, by the end of this episode, I'll probably hone in on a rating. I gave it something, but I'm not sure it's going to stay there.
Okay.
Yeah. You want to give your one-line plot, Kay?
Yeah.
Okay.
A teen obsessed with male validation seduces her married English teacher, expecting scandal, passion, and literary romance, only to realize that once the affair becomes a relationship, he's just old, available, and deeply unimpressive.
Yeah. That is actually perfect. That just should have been, that's it. That's the entire plot.
There you go. That's
I
the
had a
plot.
very similar one. A troubled teen spends an entire novel convinced seducing her teacher will solve all her problems, before realizing that it is in fact every adult in her life that's the problem, and there may not be a solution.
That is very true.
Yeah.
Every adult problematic in this book.
Yeah. Not to say that Waldo's 17.
I mean, Waldo is problematic.
Yes, she's not supposed to be a perfect victim by any means, you know? That's not what's happening here. So it is what makes the book interesting,
Yes.
even while incredibly uncomfortable.
Yes.
All right, let's jump into the spoilers before we just give it all away.
All right.
All right, sound the spoiler alarm.
Wee, 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 wee.
Spoilers ahead.
Okay.
Okay.
I mean, I knew from the moment I started that I wasn't going to like it because the book literally opens in a very sexually explicit way. And when I was listening to it, I had to double check. I was like, whoa, is this how we're kicking it off? And so, yeah, it really set the tone for what was going to continue to happen throughout the entire book.
Yeah. I would say I think I liked it, but you can't like this book. This book is not meant to be liked.
No, it's like a car crash. You can't stop. You can't stop looking.
But there was a lot about it that was so interesting that it did keep me engaged. Like, I highlighted the first line of this book, and my note was LOLOL. So I was like, wow, we're just gonna kick it off super explicitly, and then also making fun of men immediately.
Which it was, a lot of it was funny. I mean, it is, there was a bunch of humor in the book, but there were also just really real life scenarios. Like her working at Victoria's Secret, I thought was extremely funny.
Yes.
And just like describing her retail job, like, you know, she's going there on a Saturday or she's trying to get off early, Black Friday. Like that I thought was funny and very real.
Mm-hmm.
And there were a couple of those things that I was like, this is very relatable.
Yeah.
I get this.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was like, oh gosh, then there are things that didn't. But I will say that I feel like in a lot of books or even TV shows, this forbidden romance between a teacher and a student, I was like, oh, are we going to skirt around this the entire time? And they're never like, will they or won't they? And I was glad that they actually kicked this off into an affair. I was like, okay, interesting.
Yeah.
Let's see how this goes.
And there's a few themes throughout this book. And the one that I thought was the most interesting is somebody who reads so much romance.
Yeah.
Right? And this book is not a romance.
No.
This book has a relationship in it, but man, is it not a romance.
No.
And there is so much sex in this book, and there's not a single moment that this sex is sexy.
Well, I think it's like the sex versus intimacy.
Yeah.
And I think that that's something like that Waldo's mother, I feel like, deals with. But then also Waldo. I think she doesn't quite understand the difference. And that's also because she's a child.
Yeah.
She's a
and
young
in
one.
her mind, she's just looking for someone to pick her.
Yeah.
And that to her is intimacy.
Yeah.
And having gotten Mr. Corgi, it fulfilled some of her need for this like validation. But for the majority of the book, she was the other woman.
Yep.
And so she would be absolutely jazzed when they were together and then devastated when they were apart.
Yep.
And then when she did finally get him,
she was like,
it just turned out he was no different than all the other boys that she made fun of. One of my favorite lines, and this was actually kind of a scene stealer for me, just because I thought it was so poignant and well done, is that near the end of the book where Mr. Corky is unpacking because he's left his wife.
Oh, yeah.
And he's pulling out the Clockwork Orange poster.
Yeah.
From his thing. He's like, I'm so glad that you just let me be me. My wife never let me put my posters up. And in the beginning of the book, she made fun of the teenage boys that she was sleeping with because they always had the same 3 posters on the wall, like Clockwork Orange, like Zavor Dogs, and like something else. And I'm like, so Mr. Corgi, this middle-aged teacher, is just the same as all of your other dumb boys that you didn't like.
And it took, but I mean, I feel like that's very real. The excitement that you have when you're going into a relationship, also in this one where it's like totally secretive.
Yeah.
and they are sneaking around and it's exciting. And then all of a sudden she's like, "Oh, I got the guy." And now the way that she starts talking about him is like, "Oh, he's just smelly
Yeah.
and he's just drinking
Yeah.
and he doesn't know how to make anything." And I was like, "That's so real."
Mhm.
So I get that. I will say that this is a scene stealer, but also something that's been haunting me.
Yes, this haunting, haunting scene happened in maybe 2.5 pages, and it was when Corgi has snuck Waldo into his house. He's still married, and they are having sex, and Waldo is on her period.
Yep.
And many things happen due to this period, but of course, the wife comes home,
Yep.
and Waldo has to hide naked in the closet, like, while he's getting rid of the the
Getting rid
wife.
of the wife
And in the closet, she's just bleeding
on the
on the floor in the closet. And it was shocking. Yes. Gross. Absolutely. Something that I've never stopped thinking about.
Yep.
And also, oh God, it's like it was real in the way that I don't know if it would ever happen exactly like this, but you could picture
this happening.
this happening.
Yeah, like it's a very real
Yeah.
thing. And
And
I have never heard this described out loud.
yeah.
And I never want to
Yeah.
ever again.
I mean, no punches were pulled in the
No.
description of this, like not a single one. And it made me absolutely cringe and
Oh,
shiver. It was also like a screaming no
yeah,
moment.
I was
You're
like,
like,
"No.
no.
No." I was like, "Oh my God, this has to end. This has to end. This has to end."
It's like every time you're like watching a movie and there's some sort of cheating happening, there's like a scene like this where all of a sudden the
The
girl or the
wife
guy
comes,
has to
yeah,
hide. But like there's not that. And then also just bodily functions happening at the same time. Like it just made what could have been a very cliche scene something
real,
new and gross.
yeah, stands out.
Stands out, but like very unique in how absolutely gross it is. What was another one of yours?
I will say, and Waldo does in fact seduce Mr. Corgi,
Yes.
and it happens in the school.
Mm-hmm.
And I think about that scene, and it's also horrifying, but
Again, very sexual, but without being sexy at all.
without being sexy at all, where it's like, I'm like, no, I'm like, ugh, I'm like listening, but cringing at the
Yeah.
same time. And I was like, are they going to get caught? Are they not going to get caught? And I'm like, what's happening here?
Yeah.
And I thought it was it was horrible, but I thought it was a good, like, look into this relationship and what I think they're both getting out of it.
Yeah.
But if you asked me in that moment, I'm like, no, honestly, I think Waldo's got the power in this.
Yeah. Well, I think that kicks off the biggest theme of the book, or maybe the biggest question. Who has the power here? Is Waldo being groomed? Is Waldo being abused? Is Waldo
Yeah.
ruining this man's life? And it depends on either one of those answers could be right. I mean,
Yeah.
I think like everything, it's probably somewhere in between. And it's so hard because we're only getting Waldo's point of view.
Yeah. Like, I mean, no, I don't think that she's being groomed. I think she has the power in the beginning, and then at some point it shifts over to Mr. Corgi
Mm-hmm.
when they are, sneaking around, and he's like, "Oh, sorry, I'm not going to be able to hang out. Something
Mhm.
happened with my wife or my kid." And she's just miserable, and
Yeah.
she's like, "Oh my God, I'm my mother."
Yeah.
Like, I'm sitting here in a full face of makeup with my outfit on, being desperate to see him, and he just canceled on me, and now my life is ruined, and
Yeah.
I have to go buy 1,000 things on Shein,
Yeah.
which I also thought was extremely funny.
Yeah. I want to come back to that because there was a line that made me think of you, and I'm myself too, but particularly you.
Yeah.
My question with sort of like the abuse grooming of it all is that particularly with Corgi, because I think it's a little bit more straightforward with her mom, like what's
Yeah.
happening there. But with Mr. Corgi, I think it goes back and forth.
Yeah.
But there was at one point where she became aware of some of the conditioning
Yeah.
that was happening. And it was right after he canceled one of those times when she just became aware that he was conditioning her. So, like, she knew that she had to be easy. It was never a problem. And whenever she would bring something up, that was when he all of a sudden would have to, like, maybe we should break up. So she stopped saying anything. And she became aware that it was conditioning her to act the way to make his life easier.
But I would say that that's the same in any relationship, doesn't matter how old you are. Like, and certainly in a relationship where you're the other woman.
Yeah. Well, and I would say that that is abuse in some way, shape, or form. If you found out that one of your friends, even in a very age-appropriate relationship, was constantly on pins and needles so she
Oh,
didn't,
well,
like,
yeah.
make her husband angry or make him threaten to break up with her,
Yeah.
we'd say, get out of there.
It's emotionally destructive.
Yeah. I think so as well.
I would say, I think, at least from what I gather, that Corgi is also deeply, deeply in love with her. I think it starts off the same thing. This is very exciting.
Mm-hmm.
There's this younger woman. She does everything that my wife won't do. She's so easygoing. I don't have to worry about adult stuff
Mm-hmm.
when I'm with her. And then it gets to a place where he's like, oh, okay, well, now I can see this girl's really falling for me. Let me like put the brakes on.
Mm-hmm.
And then he like comes back and is just, he's
Yeah.
fully in it.
Well, because she breaks up with him at one point.
Yeah.
And he chased her. And she was just like, no, I'm always going to be the other woman. Like, you're not going to leave your wife for me.
And
That was one of the parts I highlighted and laughed because they were like doing a text. And she just wrote back, LOL, you're not leaving your wife for me.
yeah.
and he, in fact, did. After they got back
He-
together, he
yeah.
did leave his wife and immediately regretted it and immediately became
Dependent
on Waldo
Yeah.
in a way that he was dependent on his wife, but Waldo is both unable and uninterested in making him dinner. So he became the naggy wife. I'm sure the way that
Yeah.
he thought his wife was to him, to Waldo, which eventually turned Waldo off.
which I think is such a good description of relationships. And I thought that I like to see the tides turning.
And you know what I also liked is that in the same way that Waldo wasn't perfect in any way, shape, or form, Corgi wasn't 100% bad.
No,
But I
no.
do like that he got what was coming to
Yeah.
him towards the end.
Yeah.
Right? Because at the end of the day, he is an adult who thought it was a good idea to leave his wife and child
Yep.
for a 17, 18-year-old girl, knowing when it came down to it
Yeah.
that she was going to leave. And if she didn't leave, it would be because he would at some point then really have ratcheted up some level of like emotional control or
Yeah.
and he didn't. And so she was able to very much just leave because she wasn't getting what she needed anymore, which was this type of distraction.
thrilling,
Like
yeah.
this type of distraction from herself.
And it became like a very typical relationship. Like towards the end,
Mhm.
he got his own apartment and she would work her little job at Victoria's Secret and come over to his house every
Yeah.
single night. It would just became monotonous. And she's like, gross, this is terrible.
Yeah.
This is not what I want.
I could have this just with a teenage boy if I needed to.
Yeah.
This is not interesting or distracting anymore. And that, I think, the whole point for her.
Yeah, now she's like, oh, so this is what I have to look forward to every day, working at Victoria's Secret and then coming home to a stupid dinner that this guy could barely cook.
I know.
Ugh.
And then another one of her distractions, which I identified too much with, and it was really made me think a little bit, was like the consumerism
Yeah.
shopping. Because whenever she felt really bad about herself or she was upset, she would go online and just spend a ton of money on just shit.
It like
Yeah.
Oh my God, it just makes me think of like because they talk about Bath and Body Works a lot,
Mhm.
and it's just like those
Just mall
sprays.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, like those sprays, the antibacterial stuff, a bunch of the little things that she can get at Victoria's Secret, shopping at Shein or Forever 21.
Mhm.
It was very interesting because I was like, she's responsible in that she knows how much money she has.
Mhm.
She'll be like, okay, I've got $100 until Friday. And then she'll blow it on all of this like stupid clothes. And she'll like return the things
Yeah.
and then she'll just like do it again. And she
Yeah.
needs like that dopamine hit from
Yeah.
knowing that you have a package coming
Yeah.
in a few days. And I'm like, I understand that.
I understand that. And also she does it so much with like makeup.
Yep.
With like just she sees something online and they're just like, if you do your eyeliner just like this, everybody will pay attention to you. And so she goes and she tries it. She can't do it. And now she's like, well, I can't return the eyeliner. And then something happens and she's not depressed anymore. And she'll look in the mirror and she'll be like, nah, this looks good.
You're like, "I'm beautiful."
And she had this one line. I'm like, I have to say this to Katie because this is the way that you use Amazon. And she says, I pee and come back, but he's still on the phone. So I get on mine and I find myself where any lost soul find themselves. Their save for later section on Amazon.
Yes.
And I'm like, oh no, not the save for later section.
Oh, it's such a place. I can tell my moods and what I was thinking about if I scroll through that save for laters, and I'll be like, "What was I thinking when I saved this?"
Yeah. And I'm just like, oh no.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
can
And
really
that's,
relate.
I can also relate to that dopamine hit.
Yeah, but also it's very realistic in how she describes going on YouTube or TikTok
Hmm.
and seeing tutorials and fashion, and it's an interesting look into a mind of a 17-year-old that has all of this social media at their fingertips.
Yeah. And they do want to, like, it is going fast. The attention span is short.
Yep.
Like you're gonna see a video, you're gonna buy what's in the video, you're gonna try it, it's not gonna work, you wasted your money.
Yep.
And over and over again. She just has such limited money, like you said. It's not like she has a credit card. She's just spending cash. She's not getting herself into,
Debt or
debt.
anything,
She's
yeah.
just like not saving any money. She's just, using it to make sure that she has junk food
Yep.
that she can eat, Stouffer's lasagnas,
Yeah.
etc., and whatever trinkets really that is going to make her feel good during that
Yep,
time.
and it's very much like what her mom does is whenever her mom is in a relationship, she's a completely absentee parent, and then when her mom is single or she breaks up with this guy or they break up with her, she's cleaning the house. She's telling Waldo that they're gonna go on vacation,
Hmm.
and unfortunately, Waldo, like, gets excited even though she knows the majority of the time none of this is ever going to happen because this guy's gonna ask for her back or she's gonna find some other guy,
Yeah.
and that's kind of,
I
that's sad.
think the saddest part in the book for me was the ultimate disappointment that her mother gave, or like the
Oh, I
last.
know.
And so her mom realizes at one point, meets somebody that invites her to a Love Addicts Anonymous
Yep.
sort of meeting. And she goes and she has a sponsor and she's like taking it really seriously.
Seriously.
Like her mom is really taking it seriously. It really feels like she's doing the work.
Yep.
She's being honest about her
Yep.
patterns and what she wants to break and
Yeah.
like all of these rules. And I'm like, wow, could this be like a twist?
I know.
Like, could her mother really work through this and like maybe become the mother that Waldo needs? And then, like, the last chapter of the book, Waldo leaves Corky because Corky is trying to take her on like
A
a
Hawaiian.
Hawaiian vacation as like a last ditch effort to save this relationship. And Waldo goes to the bathroom while boarding happens and then just decides to leave
I
Corky
mean,
there.
and her mom did say, "Don't ever get on a plane for a man."
Yeah.
And so
And so she went home and she thought, okay, I'm going to go home. I'm going to see my mom because they were talking once again on that trip that they were going to take. And she's like, I think my mom, I think we can actually do it this time.
yeah.
And as soon as she walks in, her mother's back with the old boyfriend, sleeping with the old boyfriend, and has obviously given up all of the Love Addicts Anonymous stuff that
Yep.
she was trying to do. And that was devastating
I
to me.
know. I was bummed. I was hoping that she would be able to just pick up her mom and go,
Yeah. And like that would have been
but also it's very realistic.
very realistic.
You
There
know,
was
people don't really change.
I know. And particularly not at like this time of her life. She would even if say her mother would be able to beat this love addiction. It wasn't going to happen on the first try.
No.
Like she was going to relapse. So it was so sad.
Yeah, it
So
was
sad.
a real bummer.
One of like I think the best highlights that I did, it's like the very last paragraph of the book.
Yeah.
And it's pretty much the thesis, I think, of the book, where this is after she's run away from Corky.
Mhm.
Her mother has disappointed her again, and she's by herself. She herself is going to go on this vacation. She's going to go to this place that her and her mom
Yeah.
always said they were going to go. And the last paragraph is maybe it's all the same. Corky and the pants and YouTube and makeup and sweaters and junk food and sex. Maybe they're all just distractions for me. But right now, me feels okay. No chaos, no turmoil, no endless list of wants. Right now, I don't want for anything.
Yeah.
And you know it's gonna change. Like, this like, you know this is not, like, a happy ending. She's
No.
going to come back around, and she's gonna need these types of distractions,
Yep. She's gonna
but
meet somebody else.
like, this is what this entire book was. That's what Corgi was, that's what the
Yeah.
shopping was, it was what the high school boys were. They were all just distractions trying to figure out a way to get out of what is
A kind of miserable
a
existence.
miserable existence that has been
Yeah.
perpetuated by her mother, mostly.
Yeah. I honestly, that girl needs to go to college.
I know, I
I was
know.
gonna I was hoping that maybe that would happen. Like, she's gotta get out of Alaska.
Alaska. She's gotta get out of
She's gotta
Alaska.
get out of Alaska and meet some new folks.
Yeah, she really does, and just find anything that she's good at. Because you know what? She doesn't hate Victoria's Secret.
She doesn't it kinda seems like she's a
Yeah,
bit of a good salesperson.
yeah. She says one of the best things about the job is when she can actually help a woman.
Yeah.
And she's like, and sometimes it doesn't happen. Sometimes you'll go weeks, but
Yeah.
sometimes you actually help a woman get like the right size bra and
They feel
everything
good
is, and
about
they feel good about
themselves.
themselves. And so then she feels good about herself. And I'm
Yeah.
like, that's such a great small insight to her life, but like she can't,
Well,
she's
she
like
doesn't
not
know how
getting
to
that.
use that
Yeah.
to
And she's not getting that anywhere else either. She's not approaching anything else in her life in the same
No.
way.
No. Alright, Elise. What's your final rating?
So I think I'm going to keep what I have, which is a 3.5,
Okay.
because I don't think you can like this book.
Yeah.
I it's not that's not the point of this book. The point of it is just get this like slice of life from a
Yeah.
very sad, a very disappointed and a very abused girl basically. And abused is not necessarily
No,
the right
abuse
word.
is not the
It's
right word.
a very that's not the right word. It's a very
She
neglected.
Yeah.
A very neglected girl. The book is engaging, the book is funny. Waldo's voice is so interesting and
Yeah.
exactly what you would think a 17-year-old today would sound like in these situations. It's
Yeah.
really, I think, really well written in that way. I think the short chapters, the short sentences, just the way that this
Yeah.
is like very straight to the point is so different than the types of books you and I both normally read. But I mean, when you're in fantasy, if you're in that like
Yeah.
big descriptive language, is the way all of those are written. That's like part of the tenets of the genre. To get something that's so straightforward was, I think, a really new and interesting way to read. So I
Yeah.
did like that. I thought it was really well written. And it's very clear that Jeanette McCurdy has a voice.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah. And I keep thinking about it. Again, there are those scenes, unfortunately, I'm probably never going to
I
stop
know.
thinking about, which is
Haunting me.
haunting.
Ugh.
But who's to th I think that's a hallmark of a good book. So, yes, I would say 3.5. And I do think, unlike Girl Dinner, for example,
Yeah.
where I said I would never recommend this to people, and then I started recommending it to everybody, I don't know if I'd recommend this book.
No, I would not.
So,
Yeah.
I think it would have to be a very particular person, and that person would have chosen to read it already. It was the person who read her memoir and
Yeah.
wanted to read what was coming afterwards. I did that in the opposite order.
Yeah. So I gave this a 2 out of 5.
Okay.
And I think I would stick with that. Maybe I'd go up to a 2.5 out of 5, but I wouldn't recommend this. I thought it was interesting. Not that it was poorly written, but it's just like I wasn't having a great fun time reading it. It's not like I was desperate to see what happens next. And it wasn't anything that made you feel good. Like every now and then I had a chuckle. But I felt like more often than not, I was cringing.
Yeah. Cringing because you were uncomfortable, not cringing because like you thought like, ooh, this is cringe.
Well, I mean, yeah, things that happened I thought were also cringe, but
But
not like the writing was bad cringe.
yes, like
More
yeah,
like what was happening in the book was cringe as well as hearing it.
I got it.
Yeah, it was quick, but I also felt like it was a bummer. And I just don't
It's
prefer to read bummers, you
it is
know?
definitely a bummer of a book. This is not there's nothing happy about this
Yeah.
book. That ending, that last line that I read was probably the most hopeful part of the book.
Yeah.
But as we saw throughout the book, unfortunately, that hopeful moment never stays
Yeah.
for Waldo.
Which is and that's very realistic, and that's
Yeah.
the way that the world works. It's just that's not why I read,
Yeah.
I think.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
Are you glad that we read it in the sense that this was something different?
I definitely think it was something different, I will say.
Mhm.
And I think we've got a couple different things that we've been reading and things that we're going to read. And I'm glad that I read it for
Yeah.
that insight, but I don't need to read this again
No.
or
You it if
anything like it.
Jeanette McCurdy's next book, you might not just jump right into it?
No. Now that I know, like, that's her vibe, I think it works for some people. It's not for me. All right. So our next book is How to Kill a Guy in 10 Dates by Shaylee Thompson. And this is described as a slasher rom-com. So can't wait to see what this is about. We are really going into genres that we are not used to reading.
I would go as far as to say this might be the first of a genre. I mean, like, this is a genre mashup. So,
Perhaps.
I also think that this is you getting back at me for Catch Her If You Can,
Yeah.
because you're now just giving me something a horror or something to read, and you know that I'm too big of a scared cat to do this at any point, so
I mean,
now
I'm also a big scaredy cat with that stuff, so.
I don't know, I feel like you have a little bit more of a stomach for it, but a slasher?
Ugh.
I haven't
Ooh!
I feel like the last horror movie, like slashery type horror movie I've ever watched,
Is Scream.
I think mine was The Ring.
That's not a horror movie.
The Ring?
That's like a that's like a it's like paranormal. That's not the same.
Okay, well, if
That's
you're just gonna go,
paranormal.
like, teen slasher, I think maybe I tried
Or
to
like Saw.
watch No, I never would watch Saw, like, that was
Oh.
never that was never a thought in my mind to go that way. I think maybe, like, Final Destination or something around that time.
I don't even think I
I
watched all
remember
that. That
being,
was too
like I
scary.
remember being at our old house and having, like, people over for a sleepover, and they wanted to watch Final Destination, and I said yes because I wanted to be, like, the cool host, and
Yeah.
I remember, like, leaving the room and just being like, "Oh, no, something is happening over here," and just,
Yeah.
like, not coming back, just, like, letting my friends watch it and then just not coming back.
There's definitely parts of certain horror films that I feel like I've seen because you've either been at a party or at a boy's house,
Yeah.
and those particular parts have also left me
Kinda
traumatized,
haunted you.
haunted me.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, 100%.
All right.
Alright.
Well, remember to rate, review, and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. And remember, no genre shaming unless it's funny. Bye.